Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast. Today I want to talk about something that is really close to my heart because it's something that, if I'm honest, I do all of the time. And that's beating ourselves up. We don't usually talk about it, but I think we all beat ourselves up at times. And I think it's important to be honest with ourselves about that. For me, it usually comes in some form of not enoughness. Like it's some variation on the thought, I am wrong, or I am not enough, or I am a bad person because of something that I did, or something that I said, or something I didn't do, or I should have done. And usually, like 99% of the time, it is absolutely ludicrous. We say things like, I am wrong because I forgot to clean out the car. I am not enough because I didn't get through today's task list. Or, I am a bad person because I couldn't anticipate this problem at work. Big or small, I always feel like these errant thoughts always seem to punch right in the gut. At least they do for me. It's like they know just where to stick the knife in and twist in order to send us spiraling. So the question for today is, how are we supposed to deal with that? So I'm going to share a process that I use that helps me to catch when I start to spiral in that direction, when I start that process of beating myself up, and then how I pull myself out of it by resetting and reframing those thoughts. I hope you enjoy. Welcome to The Joy Within. I'm Kyle Greenfield, and I believe that you have the ability to become calm, confident, and happy anytime that you choose. Some days, that's easier than others, but with the right tools and the right way of thinking, we can unlock incredible states of joy, peace, and well-being within us. So visit thejoywithin.org to get started today, so that together we can create a happier and more peaceful world. When it comes to beating ourselves up, I think the number one most important thing is to always try to become aware of the patterns that we have, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But before I share the process of how you can pull yourself out of it, I want to point out that underlying everything that I'm about to talk about is the idea that we can always come back to what we truly believe, and I think that's the biggest defense that we have. So despite whatever inner stories might be swirling on in your brain in the moment, I know that if I have an empowering belief, all I really need to do is to remind myself of that. And when I'm feeling down on myself, I really like the idea of perfect and yet evolving. That's something that came to me in meditation about 10 years ago now. And to this day, I continue to be fascinated by the idea. I am perfect, and yet I am evolving in that perfection. There's a level of acceptance in that, a sense of both humility and power. In this moment, I am exactly as I should be. Everything is exactly as it is. Even as we continue to grow and evolve and move towards a better version of ourselves. And I find it to be an incredibly powerful idea. The challenge comes, especially when we're in that state of beating ourselves up, that we can't always get back to those better, stronger beliefs. We get stuck. We keep spinning around in circles, in that sense of not enoughness or being wrong, or thinking that we should have done or not done something else. But if we know that our goal is to get back to a higher level belief, and that could be any higher level belief. You don't have to use the perfect and yet evolving idea I just shared. Your higher level belief could be something like, I am well, or everything's going to work out, or I don't have to figure this all out right now, or anything that resonates with you. And honestly, when you're in that negative moment, you don't even have to know what that belief is. If you just know that you want to remind yourself of your true nature, of literally anything, then you have a path forward. And an important thing happens when you do that. Because immediately there's a schism, there's a separation, like drawing a line in the sand that says, wait a minute, these thoughts, this little voice that's beating me up right now, that's not really me. And if you can draw that line, then you have taken the single most important step for you in that moment. And as you do this, you don't even have to believe the better belief, not in that moment. You just have to know that it is there. That's where the process begins. So that said, I want to take you through a 7-step process that you can use to stop beating yourself up and to help you to reactivate that better belief within you. The first step is about catching yourself when you enter into that spiral. As I said, I really think this is half the battle, because when we're in those self-critical states, one of the biggest challenges is simply being able to step back and see what we are doing to ourselves, to see how we are beating ourselves up. Because often, in that moment, we don't see it that way. We often think that we're being rational, or we're giving ourselves constructive criticism, or we think we're trying to push ourselves to do better at something. But really, we're just being self-abusive. And we all do this sometimes, and that's okay. So one of the easiest wins here is to know your symptoms. If you can identify ahead of time what your negative patterns are, it is easier to catch them. So when you are in a good mood, take time to reflect on those moments when you beat yourself up. List out the types of things that you know you say to yourself. Often those sound like, I should or I shouldn't have done this. Or, why can't I just do that thing? Or, that was stupid. I'm so mad at myself for whatever it is. Just call yourself out on known patterns of self-deprecating thoughts. Do this when you feel calm, because it will prepare you for the other steps. Next, when you catch yourself falling back into those patterns, first call it out to yourself, but then lean into the thought. And a lot of people shy away from this. We often want to avoid these thoughts because they cause us pain, because this thought sounds like, you can't do this, or you're not enough. But it's okay. Don't be afraid of it. A lot of our pain actually comes from our struggle against these thoughts, even more so than the thoughts themselves. Because we become aware of the negative thoughts, and then we try to stop thinking them, but they persist, and so we start thinking we're wrong for having had that thought to begin with. In other words, we start beating ourselves up for beating ourselves up. And we never actually take the time to step back and look at that original negative thought. We never listen to it. But often, very often, that thought just wants to be heard. And it's okay to say to yourself, I am feeling down about this right now. Or I'm mad at myself about this right now. Lean into it. Let yourself feel it for a moment. And you might be surprised by how that makes you feel. Because when we lean into the thought, it not only gives us space, but it also clarifies exactly what the negative thought is, which is essential for the next step. Because step 3 is then to rephrase the core thought. And what we really want to do here is to drill down to its essence. So often, when we're in a funk, there are a lot of negative thoughts swirling around in the mind. And when we clarify them, they become easier to work with. So I think it helps to write it down. But you can also just speak it aloud to yourself. You can be very clear, very precise. I like to use the form, I am negative label because of reason. So that sounds like, I am a bad person for what I said to Jillian yesterday. Or, I am not enough because I didn't finish my work today. Whatever it is, make it really straightforward. I am wrong or bad or not enough because of this thing that I did or this thing that I didn't do. Then, just breathe. That's the next step. Don't skip it. You need to take a moment to reset. I like to step back using a big inhale and a loud sigh, and then turn within. But any mindful breath will work here. Ujjayi breath, if you know that one, works really, really well. It's a slight constriction in the throat, and it has a very calming presence. It's a yogic breath. It's really powerful. But you can also just breathe deeply, turning your attention within, just noticing as you breathe in, and noticing as you breathe out, just for a few cycles of breath. You can close down the eyes for a moment if you want, but the idea is simply to refocus within in whatever way feels right for you for a few moments. Then, step 5 is to take ownership of the negative thought. So take that sentence from step 3 and repeat it in this form. In this moment, I am choosing to believe that, and insert your sentence. And use that exact phrasing. In this moment, I am choosing to believe what? When you phrase it in this way, it does two very powerful things. Firstly, it immediately softens the phrase because it points out that the negativity is temporary. In this moment, I am doing this. Not in every moment. It's not a permanent state. It's not who I am. It's just for this moment. And secondly, it takes ownership by recognizing that thinking this thought is a choice, even if it doesn't feel like it as you're thinking it. Your thoughts are always your choice. And when you recognize that, it brings the thought back into your control. Often, when we're in those self-deprecating states, we feel out of control of our thoughts. So bringing it back into your control is really, really powerful. I am choosing this thought. I may not like it. I may not have chosen it consciously. I may not prefer to have it, but I am choosing it. That implies that I could be choosing something different. Maybe I still don't feel like I can choose a different thought right now. But yes, I suppose that at some point I will have a different thought. At some point I could imagine myself thinking something different than this here. So again, that's in this moment, I am choosing to believe that I am a bad person because I said that comment. Or in this moment, I am choosing to believe that I am not enough because I didn't finish my work yesterday. Write it down, speak it aloud, whatever works for you. If you're dealing with stress and negativity in your life, the Joy Within can help. Our membership program provides a clear path to reduce stress and cultivate more joy in your life by showing you how to get out of your own way. When we learn to quiet that annoying little voice in our head, we allow a natural sense of joy, peace, and well-being to shine from within. Our program activates that joy within you by combining clear insights and simple actions with personal accountability and a plan that we customize to work for you. Best of all, it's free to get started. So head over to thejoywithin.org/join to sign up today. That's thejoywithin.org/join. Now, back to the show. Step 6. Look at that sentence. This is why I like to write it down. I like to take my time and I like to look back at it, so I have it firmly in front of me to see. That's how I know my mind won't trick me and try to change it along the way. So look at that sentence and ask, do I really believe that? Like, do I actually believe that I can't do this because I had one bad day? Or do I really believe that I'm a terrible person because of that one thing I did? Often, the answer is no, I don't actually believe this. And when we look squarely at the negative thought, very often it sounds insane. It sounds totally crazy. And we're like, of course I don't believe that. Of course I believe something better. I was just in a funk. And the reason is because most of the time, our negative thoughts feel like they are all-encompassing. They feel like they stretch out and take over everything that we care about. So that one small thing that you did, that you're beating yourself up about now, gets stretched out, it gets distorted. So it feels like you were this horrible person because of that one little thing. But when we look at it head on and say, wait a minute, do I really think that? It points out just how crazy those hidden negative jumps are. And we can reel ourselves back in to see the situation more clearly. Now, the caveat here is that if you are working with an issue that you do really struggle with, then sometimes asking this one question isn't by itself enough to make a big shift. And that's okay. When that happens, try to ask a slightly different variation. So you can think something like, okay, so maybe I do believe this right now, but what is it that I would prefer to believe? And phrasing it in that way, thinking about what you prefer, even if you can't get there right now, can help to point you towards the state that you actually want to move towards. And that's important because the last step is to then step into that new thought or belief that you prefer. Or if it's something that you already believe, you just have to activate it. You just have to step into the belief that you had to remind yourself of. So that sounds like, no, I don't actually think that I'm a bad person because I had a bad day. I know that I'm doing my best. And then we can step into or lean into that idea of, well, actually, I'm trying my best here. I am mostly doing a good job. Or I'm still learning how to do this. Or whatever that belief is for you. I think this works because I like the idea of beliefs as concepts that we can tune into in any given moment. They're just thoughts that we place a strong degree of focus on. Now, I'm a total nerd, so the image I have of this is I always think of it like Pictures at an Exhibition. Pictures at an Exhibition is a piece of music by Mussorgsky and later made famous by Ravel about being in an art gallery. And as you walk through the gallery, you then step into the different paintings. And each movement of the piece basically imagines living in all of those different scenes for every painting in the museum. So I like to think of beliefs like that. In this moment, I am choosing to believe this. I'm choosing to step into this painting. There are plenty of other paintings in the museum. There are plenty of other scenes I could choose from. There are plenty of other thoughts or beliefs that I could choose. And maybe later, I'll go focus on one of them. But right now, I'm looking at this painting. I'm stepping into this belief. And I find that helpful because it helps me to imagine a total point of focus. A total instantaneous shift into the new state you prefer. And this process does not have to take long. Remember, you just have to know the symptoms, catch yourself, rephrase the core thought, breathe for a moment, take ownership of that thought, ask, do I really believe this? And then step into the thought or belief that you prefer. So I really hope that you find this helpful. I think this process works because it helps us to acknowledge and clarify the negativity that is passing through us all of the time, really. It helps us to step out of some of the pain of that negativity by not struggling against it. And it helps us to shift by softening both the scope and the time frame of those negative thoughts. So instead of having to stay stuck, instead of being afraid of this huge, all-encompassing, permanent negative thought, it helps to walk ourselves back and say, well, actually, I am choosing this thought. I'm choosing it in this moment, but I don't have to keep choosing it. It's not part of my identity or an unchangeable flaw of some sort. And all of that type of reasoning then helps to loosen the grip that the negative thought has over us and point us back towards the thoughts and the beliefs that we prefer. So they lift us up into the states we prefer to feel. So I encourage you to try this out, play with it, make it your own, and see what happens if you can apply it the next time you start beating yourself up. So thank you so much for your time here today. Know that I love you and I appreciate you wherever you are. If you enjoy the podcast, please share it with a friend. Like I said, I think this is one of those things that we all do to ourselves, and yet we almost never talk about because we don't like to admit it. So just passing along a link can do wonders to help get somebody else out of a funk and really make their day. And if you want to go deeper, head over to thejoywithin.org/join, where you will find more strategies like this to help you become calmer, more confident, and happier in our crazy modern world. So thanks again, and I'll see you next week. Thanks for listening to The Joy Within. If you've enjoyed this podcast, please do what you can to spread the word. I believe that we all deserve to feel calm, confident, and happy literally every single day. But with everything that's going on in the world, we need to work together to remind ourselves of that in as many little ways as we can. So please, pass this along to the people you care about. Email a friend, share it on social, do whatever feels right for you, so that hopefully, together, we can create a little more peace in our crazy modern world.